one thing that when we speak about family and systemic constellations, I'm going to show it to you here. Actually, the space where you are in, the space of Spark, which is our project, and Stamba, which is Eski's project, is the space that has been created by 2 independent projects, by 3 fairly independent women. And this is basically the dream of Spark. Our dream is to collaborate and to see a world where people work together independently and autonomously on showing their talents, showing what they like to do. This is why and how this space came about. And this is also a lot about what family constellations are. If we look at the deepest, or for me, obviously, in the way I see it, one of the deepest strengths of constellations is independence, is autonomy, is am I, in my center, free to take the decisions that I want in my life? Or am I influenced by whatever has come before, by what the society that is around, but a lot of things. And so the work that we do with constellations is really to gain back our independence, our autonomy, our freedom to make choices. To get just a little of an idea, I like this. Nice iceberg. Wow. You like my iceberg? Okay. This bit of the iceberg, which the iceberg is our mind, is our psyche, if we want. This drawing has been attributed to Freud. Some say it wasn't Freud. For us, it doesn't really matter. What is important is that what it shows us is quite interesting. So here it's our conscious. The conscious bit of our mind, the piece of the iceberg that you see. Here, Freud called it pre-conscious. In our term, and for now, we can call it subconscious. And here is our unconscious. Then he did also something, if we want to have a little bit more information. There is our ego, our superego, and the id. Okay? This looks quite complicated. It's quite simple. The conscious is what I am aware of right now, at this moment. So I am conscious that I am talking to you. I am aware of this. What is interesting is that in our entire psyche, which is, if we want our mind, to make it simple, this is about the percentage of what I am aware of. Subconscious, again, 10, 15%. Subconscious is what I can easily recall. So right now, I am not talking to you about what I ate at lunch. But if I think a little bit, I know what I ate at lunch. This is a simple example. It's memories that we can recall quite easily about what has happened. This is what I don't recall at all. 80%. So now what we have to realize is that this is our mind. So when I take a decision, when I do something, when I think about something, 80% of that, take those percentages as they are, okay? It can be a little bit more, a little bit less. But the big, vast majority of what influences my decision to go out with someone, to choose a job, to study something, to marry, to whatever I do in life, 80% of that is influenced, but something I don't have a clue about. So it's a pretty big amount of space. So this is why I say fundamentally what we do with the constellations is bring this stuff that is down here or here up into our conscious space. So we can see it. Once we see it, we change our behavior. We can act. Once I am aware of something, I can act on it. I can say, okay, next time that this situation that repeats every time in my life comes, I will do something else. I choose to do a different move. The it is our instincts, to make it simple. Everything that comes instinctual to us. It's beast, is the one that reacts. The superego, it's the morality, if we want, the social norms. The ego is the guy in between that is trying to balance between my instinct that I really would like to kill my boss and my superego that says, you don't kill. Killing is not good. And my id says, I am going to kill that boss. And my superego says, no, it's not good. So the ego is in between, and it goes between those two things. And what happens is neurosis, breakdowns, and all these challenges in extreme occasion. But I think we all recognize those two parts of ourselves, which in the chakras, if we want, is lower chakra and higher chakras, that talk to each other. And not always they go on well. So this is just to give you an idea. When I say I've taken a decision and I know why I took this decision, be careful, because there is a big part of that that maybe is not that clear. In Italian, it's very interesting, because actually in Italian, the mind is called la mente. And mente is also the one who lies. So in the same word in Italian, we are very aware that our mind lies. And our mind lies not because she doesn't want us to have success, or it's a self-protection mechanism. Everything that is down here in the unconscious is traumas, is fears, is what I chose more or less to forget, because I need to move on, because I need to live. And when I am a child and very bad things happen to me, I don't know what to do with it. So I remove it. But the fact that it's removed, so I don't remember it, does absolutely not mean that it's not influencing the way I behave, the way I act, and the way I think. So this is what this nice iceberg tells us in brief about how our mind works. Here we have a symptom. And here we have potential causes. So as I said in my example, for example, I have very hard migraines, used to have very hard migraines. That's my symptom. But my symptom can also be I am depressed, I lack energy. My symptom can be I don't feel in my place in my life. My symptom can be my knees hurt, okay? It can be a physical, it can be an emotion, it can be various forms of something I am aware of. What we do with the constellation is bring potential informations that can give you a cause for that, a reason. Additional information from what you are already aware of that can help you solve or move on. The point of bringing it up is I recognize it, I work on it, I integrate it. Okay? So there is still work to be done once we see it. Obviously, we then have to change what has happened. The work with the constellations has been created in the way we know it now by Bert Hellinger. He wrote many things, but he wrote this book which is called Ordnungen der Liebe, the Order of Love. He died in September, 19th of September, just a few months ago, aged almost 94. And he worked for a long time in South Africa. And there he learned new therapies on group dynamics, where he realized, and they were revolutionary for him, that was coming from a German tradition, because they were putting the individuum, the person, in the center, and there was a lot of love. He realized that the facilitator, the teacher, was very caring and attentive about the person. And in the work of Hellinger, this is what he said has influenced him in the development of his own way of working. So a lot of care on the person and a lot of space for the person, and also the love, the order of love. How does love flow in our life, and how can we support it in its flow? Hellinger also looked and worked with Zulu tribes, and for them he learned the importance of the ancestors and the way that tribes and various cultures honor the ancestors, the way they talk to them, the way they represent them. And so this is also then something that he integrated very, very deeply in his work, and the way that conflicts are solved more broadly. So then he came back, he studied psychodrama, he studied primal therapy, where a lot of focus is given on expressing and relieving the traumas that we have gone so that it can come out. He studied psychoanalysis, so this came into the picture. And at some point, he did family therapies, systemic therapies, and that is where he was taught the system of family constellations by Thea Schönenberger was her name, and he took this and he realized the potential that there is. So this, compiled with all the different methods and studies that he had done, is what we know now as family constellations in the way that Bert Hellinger has taught them. There is then also a different view and perspective on systemic constellations, but the way we explain it, the way we present it at Spark is related to Bert Hellinger and related to what we call phenomenology. And phenomenology, from the Greek phainomai, means to bring to light. So what the constellation does is that it brings to light a situation, a phenomena. The phenomenology analyzes the structures of the consciousness and the way phenomena happen inside our consciousness. So when we are going to see a constellation, what we see is a movement, an information that comes out of the information that the client has provided, and we look at it without judgment and without influencing. So the facilitator is intervening the minimum possible in what is happening, so that the movement is really free. And the important thing is to take away the judgment about this is good, this is bad, this is very bad, this is very good. It's the constellation explains us very good. Okay, I lived it badly, I lived it well. This is important. I am angry about this, it hurt me, I am sad, yes. But the work is I allow it to come up and to see it without putting too much judgment in what I see. So phenomenology does this. It brings things up to the light. And when it is in the light, I can take it or leave it. That's the freedom of everyone doing a constellation. Obviously, it's not imposed. It's one vision that can give you useful information. The other theory, which is very helpful behind the constellations, although they came later, so it's linked to that, we use it a lot, is the theories of the morphic fields. And the morphic fields is theories from a biologist, Rupert Sheldrake. He's a UK biologist. You can still see him online. You can find videos. You can find banned TED Talks videos from him. But what is very, very interesting is this theory around the morphic field, which reminds me that, into brackets, if someone is interested in seeing Rupert Sheldrake, he is coming to Lucerne on the 19th of January, and Spark is co-hosting that with the Hotel Hammer. So if you are interested, we can talk to you about that later, and we have the chance to actually still be able to go and see him. So what he said is he was interested in studying conglomerates, aggregates of anything. So he studied birds, the way that birds move. He studied the way the crystal forms. He studied the ways that cells develop. What he was interested in is why is it that birds, for example, all fly together and then they immediately change direction without having a GPS that says, hey, turn left and turn right. Or why is it that a cell develops in a dog and the other one with the same similarity develops into something else? All these kind of very detailed things. What he realized, and what is interesting for us, is that there are fields, which he called morphic fields, which are energetic fields that determine the organization, the form, the structure of any biological and non-biological family. And these fields transport information. They tell a cell how to develop, they tell a cell how to organize, and so they'll tell birds how to change direction. They also did experiments with rats and teaching them a particular way to get food, and then see how rats in another place completely and very far away would learn a lot faster the same way of getting food, although they weren't talking to each other or they weren't near each other. And so he realized that information travels, and it travels in different time. So it doesn't matter whether it was yesterday and also in space. It's a little bit like the concept of entanglement. If someone of you is interested in quantum physics.
Isn't there mirror neurons? So
what?
One of the theories is that people have mirror neurons. So if you look at someone else and you feel something in you, there are going to be neurons in someone else that will like synchronize with that.
Activate, yeah.
And that's like physical. That's not like spiritual, because that's like actually like a guy won a Nobel Prize for it.
Exactly. Yeah, it also has to do with that. Though I don't know in the details how those two things, because what he was more interested in, apart that for example, he was interested in telepathy. And why is it that, for example, I hear or I know that telephone is the classical example, you know, the telephone is ringing and I know that it's my mom. And 90% of the time, my mom is calling. And I don't know, but this happens to a lot of people. I don't know if this is something that you can relate with. But this is, for example, an example of this type of information traveling without needing a phone, for example. And what is also interesting of these theories is that what has happened in the past influences the way the system will work and develop. And so we can see how this can apply to our family system, to our family morphogenetic field, in terms of everything that our ancestors have lived determines the way I behave and the way I look, or influences how I can move on. Each of us sitting in this group has his own morphogenetic fields. There are many more. There is a field for the society, a field for the family, a field for everything that is connected. So when we are in this field, this is why we create a circle. It kind of helps our conscious mind to understand that there is a border between inside and outside. It kind of defines a system. But in this field, there is my information, all the information that I carry from my morphogenetic field, Ariane's, yours. So there is an amount of information in here which is huge, a lot more than what we remember or than what we know. And this is what is very interesting, because when we start doing constellations, when the representatives are called in and they start to move, they tap into this information. This is why they will behave in very different ways. It depends on the type of information. So when I ask someone to be my mother, she will tap into the information that I have about my mother. And what is very interesting, sometimes we do constellation and my sister is also here, is that my mother and her mother, although biologically is the same one, in a constellation is worlds apart. Because obviously one is how I experience my mother and how I, with my story, with my character, with my planets in wherever, leave my mother, and one is how she behaved. And obviously also how my mother engages with me and engages with my sister. So it's very important to understand that what we see here, it's my memory, is the person, is the memory of the person. It's not an absolute truth. It's the way I lived it. It's the way I remember. And also I'm talking about memories. Okay, so this is how the morphogenetic fields help us, or how they can in part explain why I can choose her and she will start behaving in a way, and if you choose her, she will start behaving in another way. They tap into the information depending on the representative, on the representation they are doing. What is also interesting in the third is all the theory about the system. So we look at the system as the elements of a system, and a system, whether it is a biological system, or the family system, has a few rules. One is that a system always seeks equilibrium, balance. And so to be in balance, each member or representative of the system has to have its place, and it will have his role, and it will have his things to do, depending on what his role is. This is the same as our organs, for example. So if I am all well, all my organs are functioning well and everything is fine. If one organ is not functioning that well, the other need to compensate. Same thing happens in a system. If someone is missing, if someone has died early, if someone has been expelled from the family, someone else will have to take that place so that the system functions. But obviously this causes many problems. For example, I don't know why I continue to repeat these patterns, which is the same thing that my grandfather was doing, for example. Or I don't know why I never feel at my place. I cannot find a partner, or the partners I find are the same as my father. Examples. So the system looks at all the elements in place. And this is what we do also with the constellations. So the basic system, if we want, is mother, father, son, or daughter. This is called the triad, the famous triad. The triad, when it works, has a fair exchange, giving, receiving, which is balanced between the parents. The son, the daughter, is receiving from the mother, is receiving equally from the father, so that he or she can move forward. Now, if for any reason this is not working, for example, if there is a divorce, often what happens is that the son or the daughter will take a place. Either the parents will get the kids on one side or the other one, which is what we hear a lot in asking them to take sides, but also often in conscious, in order to recreate this, which is a way for the system to stay safe, the son and the daughter will take the role of the father or the mother. And so they will recreate this balance, but they will be in two spaces. And so if I am here as a son, and then I am here as a father, and then I am a son, and then I am a father, at some point I lose all my energy because I am in the wrong space. But also I can completely lose who am I fundamentally? What is my journey, and who am I working with, or what place am I taking, which is not mine. So in the system and what we do with the constellations, let's say that there are three key laws, which are very interesting in constellations. One is belonging. Belonging is a little bit the feeling, basically belonging is for a child, is the need to have a family of origin, is the need to have a father and a mother, or I'm not going into gender discussions, but two people or two representatives, or a space which for he or she is family. And this is what makes the belonging is the love, is the safety, is the security. When I have it, I feel safe, I feel secure, I can grow. And in order to have it, especially as a child, I will renounce about everything to be sure that I can have this space. And so even if the family is dysfunctional, so even if there is violence, even if there are very, very difficult situations, there is still a feeling that I belong somewhere. And so I will accept, I will forget, I will put away, in extreme cases, the beatings, the violence, but also at a lesser level, an absent father, an absent mother, whatever situation that comes up, because my need to belong and to feel love in any form is essential, especially as a child. If not, I don't survive. It's pretty easy. As a child, I don't survive without parents. So I will accept everything in order to be able to stay alive, fundamentally. And what is very interesting is that both love and violence, beating, the opposite of whatever can be imagined as love, they still create the same. They still keep you belonging into a family. So if I have learned that beating is the way that my father and my mother give me love, this is probably the way I will give love to others, unless obviously I become conscious that, and I do a work, and obviously. But it doesn't really matter how. I will be stuck there, and the belonging is very, very strong, and it's very, very important. It's what gives us roots. Our first chakra, a lot of the work that we do with family constellations is to stabilize our first chakra, is to stabilize my leg so that I am stable, that I am secure, that I am present, that I can go my way. Belonging helps that. The second one is balance, equilibrium, balance. And the balance, we can understand it simply in how much I give and how much I receive. What is interesting is that rebelling is not a form to be more free. Often, I mean, I've done that for a very long time. I rebelled against everything because I felt this is how I can be free. But I'm actually just responding as much as staying there and not going my way because my parents want that. So one and the other one are just two poles of the same medal, but I am as entangled in one situation, in not doing what is mine, and in doing exactly the opposite. So there is a movement towards freedom, towards independence. It's not a movement towards going against. It's a movement of integrating and understanding. Balance means, exactly as I was saying, I give and I receive. This is very interesting in a couple. In a couple, for a couple to function, I have to give as much as I receive. What often happens is, for example, that someone gives more, and then the other person will feel dependent. It will feel an obligation. It will not feel free to move. And so one compensation is, okay, I'll give you back. So you gave me this, I received that, but I'll give you back more, so that then you are the one that depends. And so you continue this imbalance, and the only way to really come out and a relationship is make sure that both what I have given and I have received is balanced. This is one of the things that we do with the constellations, and I'll show you afterwards how. But the same happens between parents and children. So in the order, which is the third law, natural law that we look at, this says that there is an order in things. And the order, the movement of love, Hellinger used to say that the purpose of constellation is to liberate the movement of love. And so the movement of love, the flow of the energy, the flow of love, goes from the grandparents to the parents, to the children, to the grandchildren, and so on. When this happens, it means that I, as daughter, has first learned to receive. I have received from my parents, I have thanked them, and then, only then, I can give. And so often what we see, it's an imbalance. And so I'll give you a lot of things. I'll give you everything for free. I'll do everything for you. I never accept anything from you. No, I don't want anything. What I might be doing, or often I'm doing, is asking for love, is creating a connection. I hold you. You owe me. I gave you this thing for free, so you owe me. And so we need to be very careful in doing things for free, which is a very beautiful thing. But we need to be conscious of where we do it from. If it's from a heart space, if it's of a space of exchange, if it's a space of freedom, or if I am creating another chain. This is what the balance tells us. And the order is the laws and the way a family, the laws that are inside the family, the laws that are inside the country. This is all about the order. In order for a system to function, there are laws. And some laws are spelled out, and some laws are very intrinsic. For any relationship to work, also the relationship with myself, I would say, but any relationship to work, these three elements need to be present. But they need to be present in a healthy way. And this is all the work that we do. There is one thing that we work on, which is called the family loyalties. These family loyalties are unseen and often not spoken, but they are those that make that when I want to move away from my family of origin, I will feel guilty. And especially I feel guilty and I feel fear. Because the guilt feeling around going away from the belonging is a feeling of unsafe, being excluded, being out. And so to be able to move away from this loyalty and to be able to choose freely, there is a big effort, I would say. And Eski knows that I don't like to use this word, but there is an effort and a lot of courage to look at it and say, okay, this is the situation and I choose to move away. But there is also an acknowledgement that needs to happen with what has happened before me so that I can move away, not because I rebel or because I want my parents to pay, but because I recognize, thank you, I receive from you, and so I can move on and go. If I am not equilibrated in giving and receiving, the guilt feeling that will come out is an obligation. I will feel obliged towards my parents. And this is very interesting because what is the biggest gift that we receive from our parents?
Life.
Yeah. And how do we pay back life? We can't. We can't. And this is a huge obligation that sometimes we feel towards our parents. It comes out very obviously when we say, oh, my parents is old, so I'll go and take care of my parents because they took care of me. But there is no way that you can pay back the gift of life, apart by being grateful and saying, thank you for the gift of life. I'll receive it from you with gratitude, and I will do the best of it. I will do a good use of it. This is the only thing I can do for you. And this is what we do in a constellation. So we have our parents there, and if we see that our parents are still in our field, they're still influencing us, we start by saying that I cannot take on me your pain. I cannot save you. I cannot renounce my destiny for you. I cannot tell you what to do, because if I tell my parents, oh, I need to take care of you, what I'm actually telling them is you are not capable of taking care of yourself. You are a baby. And if my parent is a baby, who am I? If my parents is 0, if my father is 0, my mother is 0, who am I? No one. And so obviously when I go in life, I'll go in life with a big imprinting on my mind that says I am no one. And then life will be hard. And things might not work out that easy. So what we do is go back. And this does not mean by parents. It's actually a huge work of reconciliation, I would say, of gratitude. The biggest change in my life is the amount of gratitude I feel for my parents. But that had to go through screaming at, not my parents, the representative of my parents, obviously. It's not advised to go home and just start screaming at your parents. That's why we do constellations. So you have 2 representatives and you talk to them. And you say to them everything that hurt you, everything that made you cry, everything that you needed and didn't feel you got, everything that you really would like them to beat them up. And we do that in constellation. We hold the representative so that all the rage can come out, all the sadness can come out, everything that is inside and it's destroying me and it's taking away my energy and I feel depressed and I don't have energy and I don't know what to do. It's because I have a monster inside that I am keeping down, and all my energy goes in keeping that monster inside and behave. And so I will go around and I'll behave and I always have this big smile and I always very nice, and I become like a huge tense robot. Because all my energy is keeping that monster inside, which is it exploded, kill someone. So we saw that a better way to do it is to have a space where this comes out, and when I say thank you is the way to balance. When I receive a gift, I say thank you. We don't just say thank you because it's nice, it's because by saying thank you from the heart, and not thank you, I would like to kill you, thank you from the heart balances the exchange. So the only thing we can do with our parents is say thank you for the gift of life. And then we reestablish the order. You are the parent, you are big, you give. I am the son, I am small, I receive. And this means I learn to receive so I can give. It's a choice I can do in life. I either go back and swim against the current my entire life, and you can do that. It's pretty intense and pretty hard, and I will always go towards the past, or I say thank you to everyone in my past, and I move towards the present, towards the future. So if I don't have energy for my projects, if I don't have energy for my relationship, for everything that comes after, it's probably because my energy is still going back. And so the purpose of the constellation is not to go and say, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. It's to go and see what are the entanglements, the connections that keep me here stuck, that take away my energy, that create anxiety, whatever symptom it comes out. Where can I solve it so that I move on forward? Okay? So, there are various forms of family constellations. We work in groups. We work in individual constellations. So in an individual constellation, the way we do it is a facilitator, the person, the client, and 2 representatives. And the 2 representatives will do all the roles. In group, let's say, the interesting thing when you do individual is that you have 90 minutes for yourself. So you can go very into detail or looking at things. The beauty of the group is that you have a group that sustains you. And so you can, even if it's a shorter time for each constellation, you have the entire group. And especially what is most interesting for us is when you start representing for someone else. Yes, Because when you start representing, you realize what I'm talking about, because you will stand up and suddenly you feel no energy at all. Or you stand up convinced that you want to walk there and the energy takes you away. Or you stand up, you were perfectly fine, thinking about what you're going to eat, and you stand up and suddenly there is anger, there is sadness, there is a world of emotion that move. And it's not your constellation. So this is where you really realize the power of the connection and what constellations can bring out. So this is the beauty of working in groups. Then they obviously developed also in organizational constellations, which is what Ariane does a lot, so working with business. Instead of looking at the family, you look at the structure of the business, for example. Same laws apply. What is underneath? So what is it that is not working in the team? How is the structure of the business? What does it need? We put Spark in scene a lot of times just to see how Spark is doing, what it needs, how we are doing with Spark. It gives you a lot of information, so you can use it for many, many things. We work with the chakras as well. We put each chakra and we look what are the topics that need to come out and be resolved, connected to all of the chakras. So there is a world that you can do with that. But it all started with the family. My mother, my father, they are together, they are happy, everything works well. She doesn't have any traumas, nothing ever happened in her life that traumatized her, nothing happened to him either. So they are perfectly happy and they decide to have a family. So they come together, they're perfectly happy. You can come here. I know, you don't have to really behave how it was, just behave as it should be, okay? We're doing the ideal situation. The ideal situation is they love each other, everything is beautiful, so I come into life, I am outside the circle, how we use it, everything that is inside connected to life, everything outside connected to past, death, everything that has been. So I start moving the first 9 months. And I come here and I see my parents, they're beautifully here, they love each other. So I arrive, when I am born, with all the attention from my parents. And slowly, I have the safety, I belong, I feel them, both of them are there completely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I start to turn. At 7 is when we start to go to school. I have all the support of my parents, so I feel completely safe to go out and say, wow, cool, I meet people, I say hi, I feel completely supported, I go on, blah, blah. By 21, I am at the border of what we call the family of origin. And the movement starts towards my own center. So I start coming back 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. My parents work perfectly, and they understand that by 28, I am in my center. So it's not the family of origin anymore, it's my own center. And my parents are on the border, and everything is quite happy. You can sit, parents, thank you very much. So from here, then the story can happen again. I'll say, okay, 28, 29, I start going out. This is when I start moving into the archetype of the lover, into the archetype of the one that goes out and melts with the people, really comes into contact with everything, with the exchange. And so I go around and I will meet people and I can't take you because you just did my mother, so. So I will give you another example. And I go around and I meet someone and I say, oh, wow, hi, would you like to come and have a pizza with me?
Yes.
Good, beautiful. So I go out and she comes and we go out and then blah, 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 we like each other and everything starts again. Beautiful, we meet and we want a family or not and we decide parallel, okay? This is how then everything works perfectly beautiful and a new family and a new system unfolds. Thank you. Now, I haven't seen this situation ever in my life yet. I hope I might at some point. my mother, my father. Okay. Can I ask you to come again, please? Can you lie down here in front?
Back, front?
On your back. Yes, you can come a little nearer. Come just a little nearer. Yeah. Okay, to stay quick. Really quick. Okay. This is the field working, you know. You want them to do something, but the field pulls them away, because this is exactly what happens. So one of the examples I can give you is what happens if someone dies. For example, a dead brother or sister before me. If you remember the system, each of us has a place in the system. Gets cold, yes. Each of us has a place in the system. For the system, from the moment that the egg has been fertilized, there is the information that someone is missing. Doesn't matter if they lived 2 hours, if the mother noticed or she lost it without, we call them not perceived, miscarriages that have not been perceived, whether it was a miscarriage, whether it was an abortion, whether they died early. The important thing is that there is the information someone is missing. So when I arrive in this field, in my 9 months, this is the situation that I found. A father that is cold and that is looking for a mother, and the mother is looking here because she lost a child. And what we say is that a part of the mother follows the child. So I arrive, and there is absolute desert in the middle. And the first thing that I need when I am born is a mother. So where is my mother looking? My mother is looking here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put myself here, next to my dead brother. And so my mother sees me. Great. This means it's what we call a substitution child. I have taken a place of a dead brother or a dead sister. But what happens, you can come up with me, thank you, is that I will go around connected with a dead person. I am not talking about spirits, I'm talking about memories. So in my memory, there is someone that has died, a brother or a sister. I will not allow myself to be happy. I will not allow myself to have success. I will be depressed. Depression is something sucks energy away. And if my memory is connected to someone dead, this will suck a lot of energy. I will eat for 2 or refuse to eat. Bulimia, anorexia. I'm compensating because my sister, my brother does not live, so I have to work for 2, gain money for 2, buy clothes for 2, eat for 2, or I don't eat. I don't allow myself anything. I punish myself constantly. I have no right to be happy. I have no right to have a family. I have no right to have a relationship. All these kind of situations can tell me that there is an entanglement, a connection with someone dead. In my personal situation, this caused me to almost die and suffocate 3 or 4 times in my first years of life. They're called unconscious pulsations of death. Unconsciously, I will follow. Because I feel guilty, because I have no right to be alive if someone is dead. So what we do with the constellation in this case, first of all, is to take a distance and say, you are my brother, I am your sister, you are dead, I am alive, I have a right to be alive, I will give you a name. Give them a name means you belong to this family. And this is the only important thing. Once they belong, I can detach, and I will plant a tree. I plant a tree is a symbol of burial. Instead of putting a stone, I put a tree. It gives life, it's a symbol of life, it's a very powerful symptom. So I will plant a tree for you, I will honor you. You will not be forgotten, but I am not you. I have a right to live. I have a right to be happy. I don't have to kill myself to follow you. I don't have to punish myself. All these sentences that we will repeat so that our conscious mind understands what is happening. And so my dead brother feels free to go. And what I will see is still a bit resistance because I didn't give him a name. So I will kindly push him out. But what we will see in the constellation is this movement. And I can take space. And the second thing that needs to happen is I speak with my mother. I missed you. I needed you. I needed your attention. Thank you. I am alive. I have a right to feel you. Whatever I need to say to my mother that I missed because there was someone in between. And so I wasn't seen. And so I will do everything possible in my life to be seen because I miss my mother seeing me. So I resolve this by going back and saying, I miss you. I miss your attention. I needed you. Whatever I need to say to my mother so that I can distance, but I can receive. And then I move into my space again. Okay? The same happens in a couple. Not my mother anymore. Okay? In a couple, the same movement needs to happen. We need to be at the same height. This means I give as much as I receive. Obviously, the more I can give, the more I receive. The more it's beautiful, but the more I am connected also. So if in my life I only want freedom and I want to be alone, it will be difficult to have a relationship because the more I give and the more I receive, the more I connect. So if I seek full freedom, I seek to be alone, then this becomes difficult. Okay? But what is interesting is the space in between. So I cannot be here anymore because if in a relationship I am here, I am saying I am the relationship. Everything that went well, everything that went bad, everything that happens is me. Me, 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 me. And so my partner, rightly so, says bye. There is no space for me here. So if I want a healthy relationship to happen, I need to be able to give space. Wherever you want. Okay? And we adapt. It's a balance. And so in the middle, it's not me or her anymore, it's our relationship. And our relationship has space to grow and to move. But to have this field of relationships free, I have to let go of all my ex and all the people in my life before that. So make sure that the balance has been balanced. If I have a project that wants to grow, Spark, for example, then I need to have even more space. The more I am here, the more my project will feel constrained. This is why sometimes it's very challenging, especially if we have independent project, to give the project our name to our project. Because I am saying I am my project. And if I am my project, first of all, my project is the energy that I have and can grow beyond because it can't. But also, if my project fails, I fail. And so giving the project a name, which is a useful name, which is an energy that helps it grow, allow for space, does this. And my project grows, and maybe my project will outgrow me if I want a project that is sustainable in all its way. I am not completely identified with my project. My project has its own way, and so when our needs work together, we go together.